Greetings, this is Danielle X with the Silent Crime on National Network View. The father left his children in a running car to go into the store. He came out and his children in the car were gone. He felt comfortable enough to leave his children alone, as many people do. This woman came along running to the children unattended in a car. Making her way to the driver's seat, this evil lady moved to quickly kidnap these children without observation. The father came out realizing what happened. He was in a complete frenzy. Beating on the window of the moving car, his little girl yells for daddy, but the kidnapper sped up and ran the red light. Remembering she had a cell phone, Alea calls 911, informing dispatch that she is being kidnapped. The street signs showed they were headed to the Mexican border. Pressing for time, the authorities were to scramble to rescue the children. The kidnapper was upset with the girl for making the call. She threatened Alea for the phone, threatening to attack her and her brother. Within moments, the police surround the car, apprehend the woman, and reunite the family. Great job, Alea. The brave girl showed the courage helping to save her and her little brother. To help further this conversation, you all, I have special guest today, Brother Hashim Hakim. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Yes, sir. Are you able to hear me? The title of the show, you all, if you can tell, is called No Silence. And Brother Hashim Hakim and I are going to be able to go into detail about being silent. Oftentimes we are told, what goes on in this house stays in this house, or whatever happens here, we have to keep it here. So as people, we are holding a lot of data in our space that we have to release and to be able to let go, not knowing how the damage is done. And a lot of times young adult men are touched a lot, and they don't really feel comfortable about having those conversations, and they don't feel comfortable enough to be able to let someone know that they were violated. Right? So he's going to be able to talk about some things to be able to help men understand the importance of being able to release in time to be able to open up about what has happened. Brother Hashim, are you available? Yes, ma'am. Yes. So we want to be able, again, to go into detail in that conversation. And he has a new book that has been released, and it's called Don't Touch My Spots. And so in that, be able to tell his personal story and go into that, because a lot of times men do not discuss what has happened to them. Girls don't, women don't, but men definitely, because it's an ego thing. I mean, who wants to discuss about them being molested or tampered with or violated as a child, let alone an adult, right? So we have to be able to understand that in that, we want to be able to open up. Just imagine how that will be being in a relationship with someone and not telling. Certain things your wife may say to you that trigger you, or things your children may even do that trigger you. And so in that, we have to be able to understand the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan made it very clear and giving us instructions and helping us to be able to heal in our own space, in our own time, not having to broadcast what has happened to you, right? But it's very important that we be able to pour out of ourselves and get these engramic things out of our space to be able to help us be at optimum level, living your life, smiling, being able to not allow certain things to bother you, right? So in that, we want to be able to release those things. Boys are touched. You hear about it on TV with the Catholic religion, even in churches, even in organizations, the Boy Scouts, how boys are touched and violated, having inappropriate conversations, having sleepovers. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had told us not to have sleepovers. Why? Because so much happens in sleepovers for boys and for girls. So you have that child, your child, go into a home and spend the night, and they're eating pizza, watching movies, making s'mores, and having a good time. But your child is now locked in to adapt to an environment they're not used to. And they have in their mind, mommy and daddy will come get me in the morning, but no telling what has happened in that short period of time. And they're like in a jail, and they're obligated, and they have to go in what's called survival mode. I have to do what I have to do until mommy and daddy get here in the morning. So I do it. And then they come home and never say anything to you about what actually happened to you. Their behavior changes, their tempers change, they become very aggressive, they become bullyish, and you're like, what in the world happened to my child? And you can't pinpoint it because the very house they went to was an uncle or a cousin or a grandfather or their own parents who were spending time with I would say the second home, stepmom, stepdad, or however the case may be. But it's a reality, you all. We have to be mindful and careful of who we allow our children to be around. Period, point blank. And I have learned over time, it's very important for daughters not to be left alone. Not to be left alone with uncles, not to be left alone with cousins. We study why does it have to be that way? Because people have tendencies. And even though we're dealing with the coronavirus right now, our children are locked in, right? Sheltered in place with who knows what and why all day long while you're at work, learning behaviors. They become accustomed and a product of their environment. I'm not sure if we were able to get Brother Hashim in. Brother Sir, are you there with us?
Yes, yes.
There
Can
you
you hear me?
go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there you go. How you doing, sir?
Good. Beyond these technical difficulties, I'm good.
And you fought through it and you made it through. They say after difficulty comes ease. And you are right now riding the ease. Praise be to Allah. So for those who don't know, can you give us a quick introduction of who you are and what you do?
So my name is Brother Hashim Hakim, and I am just your brother. But recently, I just finished a children's book called "Do Not Touch My Spots."
Uh-huh,
I've been trying to write this book since 2007,
uh-huh,
and every time I attempt to write the book, I got re-stimulated over
uh-huh.
something that happened to me when I was 6 years old that affected me. In fact, Sister Danielle, what you just described as some of the characteristics of what happened to people that have been molested or touched inappropriately, I relate to every one of them 100%. So I'm the author of a book, and I was born here. Now I think my time is now to talk about some of the inordinate sex abuses that are happening around the country, using my story to go into the mindset of how victims oftentimes become victimizers. So this is a children's book that indirectly, subconsciously, and some subtly addresses the issue. So I use ladybugs to depict the character because ladybugs have spots. And again, the book is called "Do Not Touch My Spots," and it is a safe third grade reading level, a children's book, third grade reading level, and up, to touch on the subject of how these things happen in the mind of people that do these things.
Yes, sir. Amazing. Do not touch my spots. It's a very um relatable title to the book. Very, very, very wise, the selection of that. But Hashim, when you hear about the rising number of domestic violence and molestation cases in our communities, how does that make you feel?
Ask me again. Ask the question one more time, please.
Yes, sir. When you hear about the rising numbers in our communities of molestation and domestic violence in our communities, how does that make you feel?
It makes me think about what we are doing to solve the problem. The authorities that be some of the ways that we have been raised is to sweep the issue under the rug. It makes me think that we're not tackling the problem
Mm-hmm.
effectively. And I think that if we would take more than incarceration, it's going to take more than beating someone or killing them. We have to address the mind and how that individual got into that mind frame. Sometime between when the person was born and they became I don't want to call them child molesters or abusers, but sometime in between the person being born, they learn an inappropriate way
Uh-huh.
to touch someone or to molest someone. And it happened to them first oftentimes.
Wow.
So 93% of all the cases that been documented or should I say revealed to law enforcement, 93% of the cases are revealed that the victim was approached by 59% acquaintances, 34% family members. So
Yes, sir.
93% of all child abuse cases come from an acquaintance, which means it's going to take more than law enforcement to tackle the problem. And if it's from an acquaintance, 33%, 34% of the sex abuse crimes happen in the home. So
Yes, sir.
now that means we have to not just put all the weight on law enforcement. Now we got to get into the home. Now we got to get into the child. Now
Yes,
we
sir.
got to get into the school. And this subject has to be prevalent. And right along with all the other requirements of math, science, history, sex education has to be put in. I think it needs to start at third grade level.
They have brought the sex education classes to a younger age. My daughter's in the 5th grade, and they have these conversations about activity. Some some you agree with, and some you don't agree with. They go in depth about the oral activities and anals, and they have these kids become comfortable with these things happening, and they make it a conversation to where this is normal. And so when it happens to a child being done that way, they won't really think of it as being strange or being aggressive because they have been taught in school that it's okay, it's normal, right? So when you mentioned about that, we have to be able to understand the comfort zone, and no one has the right to touch you. So when you're talking about your uncles and your cousins and your siblings, your grandparents who make you feel uncomfortable, no means no in many languages. Period, point blank. And anything that's painful like that or makes you feel odd or uncomfortable should not be done. And so when your uncle does it to you at the family reunion, it happens every year, right? And you have become accustomed to that. Or as a child, you may sit on your uncle's lap. Oh, come sit on Uncle Jimmy's lap. And so you go sit on Uncle Jimmy's lap. And so you walk away like, that was weird. But you were forced by your parents to have to go hug Uncle Jimmy every time. And you know Uncle Jimmy is not right. Right? So in that, what do you have to tell the parents who have young children who are in the school system and who are learning these behaviors in regards to making certain things normal? Oral, anal, aggression, pressure. That's normal. How can we talk to our parents about that not being normal?
So I think you're right when you say parent. It is their 100% responsibility. I think male for the boy, I think mother for the daughter, and they should be the first line of defense when it comes to child abuse, child sexual abuse. But the first line of defense, we're talking about prevention now, when it comes to educating their child as to what their sacredness of their anatomy is all about. And so, mother, I don't recommend a father teaching his daughter
That's
the
right.
sacredness of her anatomy by pointing this out or pointing that out. I recommend the mother to do that. And while the mother, I think, is equipped to do both boy and girl, but if there is a father, he should be teaching his son the sacredness of his anatomy, the purpose of his anatomy. And that is a delicate subject. It's a touchy subject. And I don't recommend talking to a 1-year-old child or a 2-year-old child about these things because children are on something called auto repeat, where they echo everything that they hear. And that's why I put my book at a 3rd grade reading level. And so it's 100% the responsibility of the parent or guardian be the first introductee of this subject.
But it's good though that you mentioned about the mother for the daughter, because we're already having conversations, right? So let me go ahead and squeeze that topic in there real quick to let her understand that no means no. And even when your children go to uncle's houses or your cousin's homes or your grandmother's home, you want to be able to understand. And you ask your children every time they go somewhere, have you been touched? I just want you, and you want to be able to have your children comfortable enough in talking to you, to be able to have these conversations. And so when we're talking, you can be able to understand where I'm coming from as your mother or as your father, but I want you to be able to open up to me about what's happened to you. So when you went over Big Mama house, what happened? How did everything go? Be involved with your children's lives. Ask questions. Did anybody violate you? Were you touched? No uncomfortable situation happened for you? Okay, I'm just asking, but I want you to know that if anything does happen to you, then you can tell mommy, right? Mommy's here for you. No matter how I may respond, because children are oftentimes scared of how the parent is going to respond. Mama go, if I tell my mom, she gonna snap, she gonna run over Uncle Jimmy house, and she gonna shoot him, she gonna choke him, because my mama kind of crazy, right? Or I can't tell dad, because I know that dad is very aggressive already. And so if I tell dad, I don't want my parents to go to jail, so I'm gonna hold it. I'm not gonna say nothing to that. So what do you have to say, brother Hashim, in regards to the importance of us able to have a conversation with our children? Why is that important? I can't hear you, sir. But again, I want to be able to express the importance of being able to have conversations with our children. That's very important.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So I want to go back and talk about. I want to talk about my experience, and so
Okay.
my mother didn't teach me. In fact, I learned in an inappropriate way, as you described earlier, at a family outing at a family's home.
Uh-huh.
So, but that was 6 years old. So
Uh-huh.
it's not that it was not my mother's fault. It's just most
Uh-huh.
parents don't expect something to happen at a family's home. Most
That's
parents
right.
don't think something is going to happen at their brother's house, or their niece, or
Uh-huh.
their uncle's house, or their aunt's house, or their nephews. We don't think it's going to happen, but that 93%, according to the statistics and the cases revealed to law enforcement, is
Uh-huh.
from an acquaintance. 7% is from a stranger.
Uh-huh.
7% is from a stranger. So those statistics are really hard facts. And that's just the statistics of those that have been revealed to law enforcement.
That's right.
So it is very important. It's touchy, but I don't recommend a certain way. I think the parent knows their own child. I think the
Uh-huh.
parent knows the timing and the education level of their own child.
Uh-huh.
I think the parents should know the intelligence of their own child, because some children mature faster than others, mostly the girls.
Uh-huh.
And so I think it's very appropriate to use language like spots,
Uh-huh.
as opposed to being direct and saying, did someone touch you? Yeah, they touch you, man. You may get a hug. So now we got to distinguish good touch and bad touch.
That's
We got to
right.
distinguish what touch is. And it can be a little overwhelming for a child. And that's why I recommend starting early,
Uh-huh.
indirectly, talking about the subtleties. That's why I use the subject subtly. Do not touch my spots. Like, I'm
Uh-huh.
not going to go to my third grade level son and say, um, did someone rub on your penis? Excuse my language. I'm not going to do that. But I
Uh-huh.
am going to teach him at that level I'm talking about. I'm going to teach him, not at that age. I'm way ahead of the game, especially with my children. Considering what happened to me, all of them was educated early at the right time. about what the anatomy was for. I think that's on the mother, not on the father. I don't know if I answered your question, but I think it's really, really critical that the parent deciphers the timing and the way that's broke down to their own child.
Communication. We have to be able to understand the importance of a child being comfortable enough to come talk to you. A lot of times we shun our children off, we cut them off, we don't really listen to their day, the new dance they learned, the new friend they made. As a parent, we normally cut our children off. Whatever. Yeah, good job. Go play with your iPad. But now we're in a time where we don't give them any of our attention. We don't have dinner time conversations. We kind of put ourselves in a whole little world. So I was asking you in regards to communication from a child. Why is it important for a child to be comfortable enough to come to mommy and daddy or big mama or their big uncle, whoever they trust? Why is it important for a child to be able to feel that okay to be able to do so?
So I know a story firsthand where the young lady told her mother that her uncle has been inappropriate with her. I know firsthand. And so the mother denied it and said, your uncle wouldn't do that. The mother said, your uncle wouldn't do that. And they never dealt with it. And that made the young lady hate men for a long, long.
Yes, sir.
So and a lot of it is embarrassment to say your brother did this to your niece or nephew, but it got to be dealt with.
Yes.
It should be also first practice of a parent to listen to their children. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad he teaches us, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he teaches us to not have adult conversations in front of children. But when a child comes to say something to you, regardless if you're busy or not, you stop and listen.
Yes.
You stop and listen. And if there is a hint or inkling of any harm or shame or pain reflected on the face of your child, everything stops to address the issue, whether it's immediate or whether it's not important. You should still stop, and it's best to caution on the side of error. Your child is saying anything to you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And you mentioned the word hurt, and you mentioned the word healing, and you mentioned the word, and we have to be able to understand these things are damaging. They're very effective in our lives, and they carry on for so long, you all. And you're seeking to have someone come help you. Help me, help me, help me, help me. Or no one's listening. So we got to be able to find a way to be able to heal. And I have a guest here, you all. This brother here is going to help us, guide us to be able to understand a tool given to us by our teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in a newer model, a newer way, a newer technology through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It is Dianetics, straight Dianetics. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave tools then, right? Breaking down things to be able to make things make sense, to be able to heal. Because we were coming as crackheads, we were coming in as dope dealers, we were coming in as prostitution. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was able to clean these women and these brothers up in a whole different level, right? Having housing for them, building them. And then the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan came with a whole different tool, but the same way through Dianetics. And I have this brother here with you all. I want you to give him your undivided attention, and that's Brother James Muhammad. Sir, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister Danielle.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine by Allah's grace. I trust you are as well.
I
I
am.
was listening to Brother Hashim, although there was some technical difficulty,
Yes, sir.
but the subject matter is extremely important. And
Yes,
it
sir.
is one that we tend to shy away from talking about
Yes, sir.
because it is so embarrassing and shameful in terms of what the victim feels, particularly if they're very, very young.
Yes.
I'd like very much to get into it.
You ready? Let's get it
Yes,
in.
ma'am.
But
Yes, ma'am.
I was asking Brother Hashim, Brother James, about that communication part and the importance of being able to have a conversation with your children feeling comfortable enough that if something did happen to me, mommy, daddy, let me talk to you about that situation. Why is it very important as a parent? Your children have to be comfortable to have a conversation with you.
Well, certainly the child does not understand fully the functions of the various parts of their body,
Mhm.
and they really don't understand that some parts of their body are not to be exposed or not to be touched or even approached by someone else.
Mhm.
So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us that, and I heard this mentioned with Brother Hashim and yourself in the conversation, that fathers should never be the teachers of their daughters,
Yes.
particularly at an early age. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that daughters should not be left in the care
Yes, sir.
of their fathers in the absence of the mother
Hmm.
or a female guardian. And this, of course, is sometimes difficult for the father to swallow because the father believes, and more often than not, he's right, that he would never do anything to hurt his daughter. But there are certain formative activities that the child engages in so innocently
Mhm.
that oftentimes, because of the condition of the Black man here in America, and I put emphasis on the Black man and the Black woman, but particularly the Black man. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught us in a lecture he titled The Sin of Child Molestation. He made us aware of the kind of pressure that is brought to bear on the mind of the Black man in this particular society that literally is inclined to crush the Black man.
Yes, sir.
There's so much pressure that the brother cannot necessarily handle agitation
Hmm.
from his children. And since sex, I will say this, since sex is a form of consolation and, of course, pleasurable,
Mhm.
and the imbalance that is created by the pressure that is brought to bear in a society that definitely is not beneficial to the Black man, but rather society that is undergirded by the principle of white supremacy and the destruction of the Black man.
Mhm.
Oftentimes that man will seek pleasure from his child, from a little child, especially if the wife is not present.
Yes, sir. And that comes to mind for me, Brother James, when speaking on that, how now we're shelter in place, right? And so
Right.
mommy may be at work. Daddy may be at work. People have lost their jobs. So now people are starting to double up in one home. And so
Mhm.
uncle doesn't have a job or papa doesn't have a job. And children are doing homeschooling now or virtual teachings. And so our children are home with uncles and even aunts. Get clarity. Aunts are at home too. And now they're in their comfort zones, but now the devil has been entered into your homes, your space. And so children are having to be pressured into uncomfortable situations a lot. We have to
That's
be
true.
able to understand that no means no. And we want our children to be able to understand and deal with the uncomfortable conversations and being able to come to you because the minister has broken it down about having children on your laps as men. Even your father having your daughter on your lap. Just
That's right.
or even he said that he never even seen his children, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, their undergarments hanging around the house as his daughters, or them he didn't see the contact of his daughters at all. And so we have to be able to get back to the basics to bring security to our children because We are the first teachers as mothers, and the
That's right.
fathers are the first protectors as fathers. We have to get back to that because people get so loose and so familiar, and we put our children on the forefront of so much pain. And if we as women, as adult women and men, can't handle the pressure, how is a child able to deal with that when they're cornered in by somebody and they're being forced to say, don't tell nobody. If you do, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna hurt your whole family. These are children.
That's right.
Now the person's mind is sick, true. But in that, so Brother James, how were we able to? And knowing this now, we brought it to the table. We're bringing it out to the people to understand. I hope you all are watching. And if you're watching this, share on your pages and share and bring your families in on the conversation. No stone unturned. Everybody needs to hear this because we're dealing with a very strange time in 2020. And we want to make sure we don't leave anyone out the conversation because it's happening. It may not be happening to your children, but it may be happening to your nieces and nephews or your grandchildren, and you don't even know it. So bring them in, okay? Now, Brother James, in this, so now we're talking about communication, right? Yeah. We're talking. And so now your child comes to you, Daddy, Mommy. So I went over Rachel's house yesterday, and Rachel's uncle touched me and told me not to tell you, but I'm coming to tell you anyway because you told me to tell you. As a parent, how is it important and keyful to make sure it's not a hit and miss conversation?
It is exceedingly important. The unfortunate reality is we have to eclipse the youth and the innocence of the child because of the society in which we live, that we have to have these kinds of conversations with our female and male children at a very, very early age.
Yes, sir.
But we have to make the lines of communication open. And we have to be able to communicate with our children about this particular situation in such way, more so making the child understand that they have to obey because they may not grasp. They may not understand the importance if you try to logically reason with them in terms of reporting if someone violates them or touches them improperly. You have to really demand. Mama is telling you if someone touches you in this particular area, if someone says something to you in this particular nature using these kinds of words, because sexual abuse is not just limited to touching.
Yes, sir.
And physical interaction. Sexual abuse can also be introducing the child to pornography.
Yes, sir.
At a very early age. Seducing the child. See, we have to understand the society in which we live. It is not normal.
Yes, sir.
So we have to take what otherwise would be abnormal precautions. But for the mother and the father, particularly the mother, where the woman is concerned, and have to make the child understand that this is a matter of obedience. Yes. And disobedience brings about a consequence.
Definitely.
Yes. So we have to make the child, unfortunately, afraid not to tell us.
That's smart. Very, very
smart. Just like you would make the child afraid of lying. Make the child afraid of stealing. Make the child of disobeying any command that the mother or father would give. That's the same way you have to make the child feel.
Yes,
in terms of reporting if something like this occurs.
Yes, sir. So you have those young men and young girls as well who are adolescent age, growing up, and they've been bullied, right? And in that bullying, some molestation or rape has happened. And that child builds this rage inside. They can't really put their emotions intact. They're not able to be around other people because they start fights. And the parents trying to get to their child and ask the child, what's wrong with you? What's going on with you? But oftentimes they may act out as a bully, and that bully young man grows up to be an adult man now. So now he's an adult man and he's looking for a wife. He found a wife and he's very abusive to her. Or he may bully his own children. Right. So in that, why do you know with the tool that we have been given by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, why is it important to get auditing or counseling of some sort to be able to face what has happened to you?
That's a good question. Let's first identify the tool to which you are referring.
Yes, sir.
It's called Dianetic auditing.
Yes, sir.
In 2010, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he had first introduced it to his laborers. This process of Dianetic auditing. The word Dianetics actually is a Greek word, the first part of which is dia, which means through, and the second part, netics, is actually the Greek word nous, which means mind. So it's going through the mind to determine what is happening to the body. Dianetics. And it is a process of auditing, which auditing really is just listening. And while you're listening, computing. But it is a process by which, through the auditing process, you can take the person back to that time in their life when they experienced something that was detrimental to them, the effects of which they are continually suffering from, even when they are adults.
Yes, sir.
You can take them back through the timeline to that particular incident by posing some specific questions about that particular time and about that particular event. The object is not to remove the memory of the event, but the object is to separate the memory from the attending pain of the event. Yes, and that is called Dianetic auditing. Once the person is capable of separating the memory of the event, which provides a source of reference, a knowledgeable source of reference, from the actual pain of the event, then they can remember the event without having to suffer a re-stimulation of the pain. It's a searching process through the mind, again, by carefully posed specific questions regarding that particular event at that particular time. Yes, it's listening primarily, and then computing, and then through a process of what they call revelry.
Yes, sir.
You can bring the person back to that particular time in their life and that incident, and then begin to dismantle or separate the pain from the actual event.
Yes, sir. Wow. Yes, sir. And the tool is very beneficial. Me personally, I'm an auditor as well, so I take value in it. And when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan introduced the world to Dianetics, it was something for me that I was not really rushing to be an auditor. I was really seeking to be able to find out what's wrong with Danielle, right? Because I can't be effective to you if I don't know what's going on with me. So the tool is a very beneficial thing that you want to take honor in being a part of and be able to help heal yourself. Self-analysis is very important in being able to learn things about you. So that man who is seeking to become a husband and he's seeking to have children and he has had a past of things that have happened to him that he's kind of embarrassed about, children, or even going to prison, things happen to him, you know. So how is he able to address these things with the ego or even the shame that he has on his shoulders, Brother James?
It's very difficult, to be quite honest. I remember when I was attending the course to become a Dianetic auditor. One of the requirements, of course, of the course, as you well know, is to be audited yourself.
Yes, sir.
And I wasn't about to have, and particularly white people, in my business like that.
Yes.
You know? But it's difficult for the black man to open up, for any man, but particularly the black man. Our egos are very fragile, and we understand that we live in a world that is inclined to crush us anyway.
Yes, sir.
So our protection is being secret or being secretive, and certainly not expressing or displaying any kind of weakness that the enemy or anyone can take advantage of,
Yes,
ill
sir.
advantage of. And so it was very difficult. I kept having to reschedule the auditing because I'd make up an excuse as to why I couldn't be audited. But the fact of the matter is, all of us, black people, who are descendants of those who participated in the transatlantic slave experience.
Yes, sir.
All of us have what is called engrams.
Yes,
The
sir.
Nation of Islam, under the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we refer to them as demons. You see,
Yes, sir.
L. Ron Hubbard referred to them as engrams. And let me just tell you what an engram is. I'd like to read the definition of it.
Yes, sir.
An engram, according to how it is defined by L. Ron Hubbard, is any moment of greater or lesser unconsciousness on the part of the analytical mind, which permits the reactive mind to record the total content of that moment with all perceptives. Well, let me explain that the reactive mind is a cellular level mind, which is not unconscious, but is always conscious. It's the hidden mind.
Yes,
So things are happening to us, and we're perceiving everything that's happening, although our conscious mind may not necessarily be aware of it. But the reactive mind is not the analytical mind. Let me give you an example.
yes, sir.
The reactive mind comes into play. Say, for an example, if you ate something like an egg when you were very young, and the egg was rotten, and you got sick from the egg, but now you're at a picnic or some gathering many years later, and someone offers you an egg, and you say, "Nah, I don't eat eggs
Yes.
because they make me sick." Obviously, that's not the same egg that made you sick, but the reactive mind is such that it is a defensive mechanism that anything that resembles
The egg.
the event that caused you a problem,
Yes, sir.
that resemblance re-stimulates the event,
Yes, sir.
and then you react illogically, because it's illogical to think that an egg 20 years ago is going to make you sick 20 years later. You see, that's illogical, but that's the reactive mind.
Yes, sir.
Now, the analytical mind is that part of the mind, and I'll give you the definition. The analytical mind is that which permits the reactive mind to record the total content of the moment with all its perceptives. Yet the reactive mind analyzes the reality that what happened to you then is not happening to you now.
Yes,
There
sir.
are certain similarities, but the similarities does not mean that the event is going to be reproduced. That's an analytical mind. The process of auditing is to separate the memory,
Yes, sir.
which is the analytical mind, from the pain, which is found in the reactive mind.
Yes, sir.
You see, and that is called Dianetic auditing.
Yes, sir. So you have the brother who went through the situation as a child, or went through a prison issue, right? Or even a current as an adult, it happened to him. You know,
Right.
at a hospital, at a rehab facility,
Any event,
anything can happen. So in that, now he's in a relationship with a woman, and he's kind of standoffish, and she's trying to figure out ways to cater to her man. I want to make my man happy. My goal is to please him, but I can't get through the eggshell quite because you kind of funny when I ask you certain things, or
Right.
I may do a certain gesture that you just don't like, or Your children may come, hey, daddy, 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 and hug him. But that thought came from that re-stimulation. That was a trigger that came through. Now I'm living this dramatization of what happened to me before all over again, right? So in that, what do you have for the men to be able to understand it's okay to talk about these things? It's okay if you don't want to be audited, get some counseling. Find someone you can trust to be able to get the charge out of your atmosphere to be able to heal, to get through your life without having to carry that weight. What's keyful in that for brothers?
Well, the first thing is that word trust.
Mm-hmm.
Trust has to be established.
Yes, sir.
As black men, in general, as black people, we don't trust each other. And that, of course, was instilled in us again as the residual effects of the transatlantic slave experience,
Yes, sir.
where the white man taught us only to trust him.
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure you're familiar with Willie Lynch
Yes,
and
sir.
the processes that he imposed on the slaves
Mm-hmm.
to create an atmosphere of distrust
Yes.
among us and
Mm-hmm.
trusting only him.
Mm-hmm. But
That kind, oh, go right ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
That kind of uh, distrust has to be broken through. As a follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we are disciplined to hear and obey. And because of that discipline of hearing and obeying our leadership, we were able, in spite of the distrust that we had, to obey the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, overcome the distrust, but because our desire, our inclination, our discipline, and our training to hear and obey our leadership was stronger than the distrust we naturally had one for the other. So in our obedience to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we set aside or subordinated our distrust of each other, and we obeyed him in terms of getting auditing. But it's a very difficult thing if trust does not exist. Well, how do you create trust?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you have to kill gossip and backbiting. That's number one. Because if you are known, or even if you engage in that kind of behavior with anyone, they're already computing in their mind that if you talked about brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so with me, you'll probably talk about me with sister so-and-so or brother so-and-so.
Yes, sir.
So backbiting and gossip has to be destroyed. Envy and jealousy has
Yes,
to be destroyed. And this is why the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as they are given to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is so important.
mm-hmm.
Because in Islam, the principal law is you want for your brother or sister what you want for yourself.
Yes, sir.
You see?
Yes, sir.
And adhering to that kind of law and actually being disciplined that way to the degree that if you are found gossiping or backbiting, you actually are excommunicated from the nation for a period of time. That may be severe,
Yes,
but
sir.
the fact of the matter is it worked to kill that kind of behavior and to create trust among us. And
Yes, sir.
so therefore, trust is the ingredient that must exist before you can apply any kind of medicinal remedy.
Yes,
You
sir.
see,
Yes,
if you
sir.
don't trust the doctor, you're not going to listen to anything the doctor prescribes.
Yes, sir.
So trust is important. So I have to emphasize that.
Yes, sir.
And then once trust is achieved, then privacy,
Mm-hmm.
secrecy, you see, is key.
Yes.
Because that's the only way you're going to get the black man to unburden himself to another man.
Yes.
Secondly, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that women should not audit men.
Mm-hmm.
Women should audit women, and men should audit men.
Yes.
So he's anticipating the possibility of something happening in the auditing process, because once that person with the engram is relieved of that engram by the auditor, if
Yeah.
it's a woman, oftentimes, and she's auditing a man, oftentimes that man will engender feelings
Yes.
for that woman, and the woman will engender feelings for the man.
Yes,
So
sir.
the minister, in his wise anticipation of that possibility, he gave us that instruction.
Yes.
So the auditing process definitely works, but there has to be attendant guidelines.
Yes, sir.
We thank Allah for those guidelines given to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Everything that we do, I'm not trying to preach, but I am a student in the ministry, and sometimes I'm inclined to do so. But we must understand that everything that we do, our personality is made up from all of those experiences,
Mm-hmm.
good and bad,
Yes, sir.
that we have experienced in our lifetime. It
Yes.
produces a personality.
Mm-hmm.
It produces a self.
Yes, sir.
It produces a certain kind of disposition of mind. And the Bible says it very simply, as a man or woman thinketh in their heart,
So it's you.
so are they.
Yes, sir.
You
So
see?
yes, sir. So in breaking that down, Brother
Yeah.
James, the trust is very important, very key.
Yeah.
And so in a relationship, we have to understand when you're with your spouse, brothers and sisters, this is someone that you have married.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that and you joining in the way you have in that manner, we're not just doing it for fun and game. This is your helpmeet. So it's okay to be able to, because you have these things that have happened to you, but it's okay to open up to her.
That's right.
Because if you married to her, some trust has to be, should be the foundation of your relationship. Hopefully not lust. That's the
It
case.
should.
So in that, you should be able to go to her or him
Mm-hmm.
and talk to them and say, hey, it's rough for me, but I need your undivided attention for a moment. No
Well,
TV,
yes.
no
Yeah.
TVs on, no cell phones, but I really need to talk to you for a minute. And then you
Well,
begin to gradually, at your own speed, open up and tell him or her about what has happened to you.
mm-hmm.
And then, be able to express why I don't like boiled eggs, why I don't like the color red. This
Mm-hmm.
happened to me. My rapist had on a red shirt, or my molester was eating boiled eggs right before he touched my spots, as
Right.
Brother Hashim said. So these things can be able to start generating out of you. So having these conversations with yourself, with your spouse, with your family, your parents, about what happened to you, because we go up and our parents didn't handle it, we think in our minds, our parents didn't handle the molestation right.
Right.
Mommy, daddy, uncle Jimmy touched me. Oh, he didn't do that to you. Like Brother Hashim said, that your uncle could not have done that to you. And so now you're an adult. Sit down with your parents and still have that conversation. It's bothering you. It's causing you pain and discomfort. So mom and dad, 30 years ago, 30 years ago, Uncle Jimmy touched me. And I came to you and told you about it, and you kind of pushed me away. And all these years, I've had trust issues. I've had abuse issues. I've had bullying issues. I've had problems with expressing myself because that way you handle it, I didn't like that. And right now, we're going to atone in the same manner. We're going to atone with this issue. But in that, you'll be able to get that off, because you have to get that off of you, family, and being able to deal with that. You don't have to let the whole world know on the billboard, hey, I was a young boy and I was molested. No, but you want to be able to properly go through the steps to heal, because it happened to you. There's nothing you can do about that. Now,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You go ahead.
No. I'm listening to you, dear sister. And as an auditor, I shouldn't be interrupting you at all. Because an auditor is always auditing.
Yes, sir.
And we always, whatever conversation we have.
It's a habit, right?
Yeah, we listen. We do it unconsciously. But, so I shouldn't have interrupted.
You're fine. We're having We're having a
Let me just say this. You're absolutely right. These kinds of conversations optimally should take place. But let me share with you the danger in bringing that up to a parent after
conversation.
so many years.
Hmm.
You see, even as you are carrying it as an engram or
Hmm.
a demon, rest assured that the parent is carrying that demon
Oh,
as well.
absolutely. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Carrying it, because it's very heavy and it's very depth. And our parents, the ones that do know, and the some that don't
That's
know,
right.
what would happen to you. Yes, sir. We would have to be able to let them
All
know
right,
parents
because
do.
I can't.
They
Oh,
are.
I couldn't see you for a moment.
There we go. I'm here.
All
Sir.
right, but
You were talking?
yeah, I can see me now, but I can't see you. But as long as you can hear me, let
Yes.
let me say this: the danger in bringing that up to a parent is that there, as I said, while you are carrying that demon
Hmm.
or carrying that engram, the parent is carrying a similar demon or similar engram. And what you will do now is re-stimulate that in the parent, and now the parent is sick.
Yes,
The
sir.
parent needs auditing. The
Hmm.
best thing I have found in the years that we've been engaged in this Dianetic auditing, the best thing I have found is that each person in need of auditing needs to handle that themselves
Yes, sir.
with a separate auditor
Yes.
before they deal with their partner,
Yes.
deal with their parent, or
Yes.
something the parent did or did not do properly.
Yes, sir.
Get auditing with someone else before you bring that to the attention of the parent,
Yes.
because you will definitely re-stimulate it.
Yes.
Now, also, the minister had cautioned us as husband and wife not to audit each other
Yes, sir.
because of what is referred to as tacit agreement.
Yes.
And tacit agreement means that while you are trying to get to the engram of your wife or of your husband, you may have that same engram, and the nature of the engram is not to be found,
Yes.
not to be discovered, not to be dealt with. The engram wants to be silent. It's like Shaitan Nirajim, or Satan the rejected. He's always hiding in the recesses of our minds, not
Yes.
ever wanting to be identified, because in identification of Satan, you can deal with Satan. You
Yes, sir.
see,
Yes,
that's
sir.
the same way the engram is. It
Mm.
does not want to be identified.
Yes.
So, as a husband, if I'm auditing my wife and I find that she has an engram that I too share, then I'm not going to deal with that engram in her, because I really don't want to deal with it in me.
Yes, sir.
You see?
Yes.
So I would strongly suggest, and this is, of course, the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that when we are pursuing uh, health, mental health,
Hmm.
or life repair through the auditing process, I would suggest that you know, don't audit your partner or your husband
Or your
or
chicken.
your wife, and don't discuss these things with your husband or your wife. You go get help if you know that there are things for which you need counsel in.
Hmm.
Then go get a counselor. Don't try to make each other your counselor,
That's right. Yes, sir. And
because you wind up re-stimulating uh, shared engrams, which of
yes, sir.
course leads to tacit agreement. But go
Yes, sir.
ahead, dear
Yes,
sister.
sir. And also too, talking about family members auditing each other. We even our children. You may not be able to audit. You straight wiring, but you can't even audit your own children because you may be the engram. You
That's
may be
right.
the reason why the
You may
engram.
very well be that. That's
I
right.
can't even open up to you, mommy, daddy, grandma, whomever, because you are the generator of the engram.
That's right.
And we have to also understand we have prenatal engrams, things that
Mm.
happened to you while you were even in your mother's womb that caused you to be a certain type of way with a certain mindset. And we have genetics, generational engrams, Things that happened to our grandmother, that happened to our grandmother, that's now happening to you. Also, many times our parents were molested, and they went to their parents, and their parents handled them a certain type of way. So now
Yeah.
you're coming to them about the same problem, and now what? They kind of shunned you from it because it happened to them
It
too,
happened
and they
to
don't know
them.
how to
That's right.
protect you because guess what? It happened to them. So all
Right.
these things, we all need help.
Yes, we do.
We all need to be able to get on a prayer rug, of course, but we
That's
all
right.
need to be able to face our own shaitan, our own demons,
That's
our
right.
own closet holding thing, because we all carry so much weight. But brothers, I highly recommend, and sisters, be clear, get some counseling, get some auditing, being able to be there because things have happened to you. No more silence. It's time to open up and be able to spread your wings.
That's right.
Just imagine how optimal you will be if you let that weight go out your life. How many goals you can accomplish, how many things you can do, but you're allowing that to happen. It did happen to you, but now it's been time for you to be able to release that which happened to you, that has you shunned down and so weighed down with weight of pain and discomfort and tears and depression and bullying and aggravation. Now it's time to release. Brother James, can you share with the brothers who may be looking for an auditor and need some help? What information can you share with them to be able to step up and be able to make that first move to say, guess what? It happened to me. I've accepted it. I'm ready to face my demons. I want to be a better husband, a better father, a better me. What needs to happen on that? You have any information you want to share before we close out on this?
Well, right now, of course, we're under this shelter in place instruction in
Uh-huh.
our chambers, you know. So we have to, if we engage in any auditing at all now, it has to be by the phone
Yes, sir.
or, you know, by social, by Zoom or something of that nature. But and you have to be pretty qualified. You know, you have to know what you're doing to do it like that.
Yes,
You
sir.
see, it can be done, but I would say, you know, we as members of the Nation of Islam, we will do it because we were instructed to do it by uh, the Messiah. We were instructed to do it by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan,
Yes, sir.
and we have complete trust in him. And I don't say necessarily complete obedience because sometimes we're disobedient, but we
Uh,
do have complete trust in him.
yes, sir.
But what about the brother and or sister that is not in the Nation of Islam
Yes, right.
and it has no necessarily any discipline or instruction to do that? I would say this: if any of you who are listening who are not in the Nation of Islam, uh, and you have some misgivings about Dianetics, which I have to, you know, be honest and keep it 100, as the young people say. A lot of people have misgivings about Dianetics because they don't understand the tool
Yes, sir.
and the process.
Yes, sir.
You see? So I would say this: practice listening to your friend, to your brother, to your father, to your mother, to your children. Practice listening because that is what auditing is.
Yes, sir.
Practice listening. As a mother, you will be able to determine that something is amiss, something is wrong with your child. You, as a mother, you will. Fathers can also, but mothers more so. But I would say to everyone who is listening, practice listening. Practice listening. And for those of you who have any knowledge of Dianetics or the Church of Scientology, it's not asking you to develop a new religion.
That's right.
You see, my religion is Islam. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's religion is Islam as taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Mine is too. And as a certified auditor, who has taken many courses in Dianetics or Dianetic auditing or life repair, I didn't change my religion. In fact, I got better
Huh.
as a Muslim
Yes, sir.
because we're not asking you to accept a different religion. If you're a Christian, we're not asking you to accept another religion other than Christianity.
Yes, sir.
Dianetics is a family of sciences that are defined in a comprehensive way that can be comprehensively applied to any member of a faith expression.
Yes, sir.
You see,
Mm-hmm.
it's really the knowledge of the science of knowing that you know. That's
Yes.
another definition
Yes.
of it. You see,
Mhm.
so I would encourage anyone, that has some curiosity as to Scientology or Dianetics order. We're not Scientologists.
No.
I'm a Muslim,
Yes, sir.
but I do use the tool of Dianetic auditing.
Yes, sir.
It is
Do you have any information that you want to share with the brothers who may want to contact you, who may have questions?
Sure, they can contact me. My number is everywhere. It's 813-481-3921. We broadcast every Saturday on a show entitled Closing the Gap, which I hope you tune into tonight. It's 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, sir.
Tune in. It's on Facebook, Closing the Gap broadcast, and also on the YouTube channel, Closing the Gap broadcast.
Yes, sir.
At 7 p.m. But you can contact me. That's my number. In no sense trying to hide it because everybody has it, And I will be glad to offer whatever counseling.
Yes, sir.
That we can offer.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
To help.
Or
just if you want to vent, just talk. I'm home. I'm retired.
Yes,
I'm not retired from the work of God, of course, but retired from this secular world of work.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I'm home and I'll be willing to receive your call and we can talk.
Yes,
we have to heal. We
have
have to heal.
Yes, sir. I'm
all
glad
praise is due to Allah.
Absolutely. I'm glad you were able to share that. Hope you all were able to write that down, brothers, to be able to get that. Sisters, you can inbox me at Dallas Vanguard to be able to get any information on questions answered. Of course, you can always reach me at National Network View as well to be able to get you what you need to be able to heal past your pain and past your discomfort. But I definitely, Brother James, I want to bring back, Brother Hashim. I want him share, definitely give some closing information. Of course, tell us about this book you have, where you can get it from, to be able to share it. Everybody needs to get a copy and pass it out. Those who celebrate Christmas, guess what? It's the perfect gift. Put a bow on it, put it under the tree, stocking, whatever you do, what you do. But it's a great gift to be able to give our children. They could be able to read. So, hey, share, share, share. We ready for you, Brother Hashim. What's going
on? I just want to know, can y'all hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, dear brother.
So I want to apologize for these technical difficulties. I'm sorry. So, in closing, I'd like to thank you, Sister Danielle, for eloquently moderating this. Pretty good, Sister Danielle. I'm sleep on the Queen. And of course, Brother Minister, so studied and so skillful. I worked under him in Orlando, Florida, and was proud of the journey. And we were effective.
That's right.
As he always is. So this book is called "Do Not Touch My Spots." Of course, being a mental student of Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad, as he teaches martial arts, is really about prevention. And so my book, "Do Not Touch My Spots," is really about prevention.
Yes, sir.
And so, there's one aspect of healing on the other end of the spectrum is someone that does not know that needs to know. And so before there is an encounter, before there is another travesty, because these sexual abuse encounters are so common. They teach us sex on the radio, sex in the movies, sex in the music, sex advertising bras and panties. There's sex everywhere, sex on YouTube. And I would like to say in closing remarks that parents do not let the television raise your children.
That's right.
Do not let YouTube raise your children. Do not use these vices as a means of babysitting to
Mm,
distract them while you're doing what you're doing. Because now we advertise sex on the radio, sex on the
yeah.
TV. This country has the number one abuse cases of sexual abuse.
Yes, sir.
And the reason why I personally believe that it is not harnessed, it is because I think part of that is because this country is involved in some of the travesty of sexual abuse, sexual
Okay.
trafficking, and things of that nature. So it is up to us. And so I wrote the book because I wish I had known.
Hmm.
And some of us do have parents that don't know how to approach the matter and just hope we'll figure it out. Well, oftentimes we don't figure it out. And
That's
unless
right.
we find out in an inordinate way, in an awkward situation.
Mm-hmm.
And once a child is abused, that child no longer is thinking about things children think about.
Come
They're
on now.
thinking about that intense feeling that
That's
has
right.
happened to them. And
Yeah.
That's
they're
right.
exploring that for the rest of their lives. So I wrote this book, Do Not Touch My Spots, as a preventative measure to help the
Yes.
parent subtly, indirectly touch these spots. So when that child comes into understanding, they will know what their parent was trying to teach
Absolutely.
them early on. So the
Yes.
book is called Do Not Touch My Spots. It's available everywhere, but what I would like for you to do is go strictly to Amazon. Now, if you want wholesale, the book is only $14.99. It's two books in one because it teaches the children how to count, but it also teaches them indirectly the sacredness of their anatomy, using
Mm.
ladybugs as a character to depict what the spots are.
Yes, sir.
So the book is called Do Not Touch My Spots by Hashim Hakim, Amazon.com. For wholesale, contact me directly at area code 904-426-2397. Area code 904-426-2397. Thank you, Sister Danielle. Good job. Thank you, NNB. Keep up the good work. Thank you
Yes.
for having me.
Yes,
All
sir.
praises due to Allah.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me, both of you all. It's an honor to be able to have this conversation with you all. And please stand by for me for one moment.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Share this conversation. If you got in the middle, you got in at the end. Even if you got in at the beginning, share it. Share with your families. Do check out YouTube. We have it live on YouTube as well, but definitely want to be able to get you all to understand the importance of having these conversations. It happened. It's painful, but now it's time to be able to rise above the emotions to thinking of God, kind of get out of it, shake it off a little bit, and just imagine how much you can accomplish by letting this go. And just imagine how much weight it has on you. It's okay. Many of us have gone through some situations in our lives that we're not proud of, right? But guess what? We have to be able to let go and let God, we say. We do. And trust that God will guide you through and be able to heal you out of what you have gone through. Thank you for tuning into NNB News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media, and also please subscribe to our YouTube channel, nnbnews.com. This is Danielle X with nnbnews.com.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
As a growing epidemic across the world, many of our people are coming up missing literally every second of the hour. The question is, what's happening? Most of it is human and sex trafficking, better known as the silent crime.